When exploring club delivery, one area anatomically we can start to connect back, in particular with the path of the club, is how the pelvis moves. So loosely speaking, pelvis is path, how the pelvis moves through space in that three-dimensional way, so how it rotates, and also the positional change of the pelvis very much then connects back to then the path the club can move on. Some examples we'll see here on screen now using the 3D values. Often, again, there's always exceptions, but exceptions are exceptional, which is why they first became an exception. So there are always exceptions to this, but typically speaking, when we start to see that pelvis move excessively laterally towards the target and also start to thrust towards the ball, that can then often connect back to that path being kind of moved somewhat to the right, and vice versa. Often when we start seeing that pelvis almost kind of back up and not move enough laterally towards the target and the downswings it rotates, we can often then start to see that path kind of then start to shift left. So loosely speaking, we're looking at, say, how the club moves through impact. Anatomically, more the human contribution, we can often then connect back to how the pelvis moves is often one of the more kind of common connections and often one of the more kind of dominant influences is why the club path then moves the way it does. So again, loosely speaking, pelvis is path. Yes, there's exceptions, but exceptions are exceptional, which is why they became an exception to start with. So often when we start exploring the path, when we look to see how the human moves, what's the human contribution, for example, as far as more the anatomical movement to the path moving that way, an area we can really start to explore is how the pelvis moves. Once again, when we start to see that very excessive lateral movement, lots of that kind of thrust towards the ball without then the corresponding rotation through the pelvis, that can often then connect back to that path being moved too far to the right for right-handed players, and then vice versa, when there's almost a lack of rotation and that pelvis almost backing up through impact, that can then often then connect back then to the path being shifted left. So to explore path, one end we can look at within how we move is explore how the pelvis moves, because within movement invariably pelvis is path.